Battlefield franchise isn't just back, it's finally listening again. After years of chaos, patches, explanations, and memes, Battlefield 6 feels like the long overdue redemption moment fans never thought they'd get. Hey, my name is Matt from the gaming Mattress, and today we will talk about the return of Battlefield. When Battlefield 2042 collapsed under its own ambitions, players lost faith not just in DICE, but in the idea that big studios could ever truly course correct. And yet, somehow, here we are, back in the middle of explosions, squads, yelling in chaos, and a game that actually feels like Battlefield again. But the wild part, it's not just DICE that changed, this comeback might just wake the whole industry up. Battlefield 2042 should have been a celebration. Instead, it became a cautionary tale in how to lose an audience in record time. Within days of launch, players were dealing with crashes, broken hit detection, and the king of bugs that turned firefights into slapsticks. You'd parachute down, freeze mid-air, explode for no reason, and still somehow top the leaderboard because half the server had disconnected. The trailers promised next-gen warfare. What we got was Battlefield chaos, but not the fun kind. The biggest mistake wasn't just technical, it was ambition without control. 128 players sounded revolutionary until everyone realized those giant maps were mostly useless space. The game boasted massive open arenas where half the time you'd sprint for minutes before seeing another soul. Worse, there was no single player experience, nothing grounding that chaos with tone or story, and no real class system holding squads together. It all felt hollow, like a tech demo pretending to be a war. Then came the infamous specialists, heroes with quippy one-liners, distinctive abilities, and Fortnite-like individuality replacing the backbone of Battlefield's traditional class roles. Suddenly, medics weren't medics, engineers weren't engineers. Everyone could do everything and no one needed anyone. It killed teamwork, the key ingredient that made the series legendary. The community didn't just revolt, they memed it into oblivion. The post-launch forums became therapy circles for disappointed fans. Images of robotic smiles, bug compilations, and sarcastic only in Battlefield jokes spread faster than official patches. And even when EA and DICE responded, every fix felt too late. Every patch was a reminder of what could have been. Critics called it a mixed bag, with a 68 on Metacritic reflecting exactly the middle of the road mess it was. The user score, a brutal 2.3. For a franchise once sitting near the 90s with Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, that was a fall from grace few studios recovered from. 2042 didn't just flop technically, it broke the social contract between a studio and its players. Fans didn't stop caring, they stopped believing, and ironically, that failure set the perfect stage for Battlefield 6. Because sometimes, the only way to rise is to stop reaching for everything. Fast forward and the first Battlefield 6 reveal hit completely different. Gone were the over-the-top promises of futuristic gimmicks. The trailer didn't need robots, tornadoes, or celebrity quips. It had something far rarer. Confident. You could feel almost instantly that DICE remembered what Battlefield was supposed to be. Cinematic, chaotic, grounded, and unmistakably you versus the world. The difference is restraint. Battlefield 6 doesn't try to reinvent the genre, it just tries to master what it already knew. Massive destructions, heartfelt team moments, and that signature holy crap unpredictability. Every explosion lands with meaning, every bullet has weight, and every squad feels like it matters again. The 4 classic classes are back: Assault, Engineer, Support, Recon, and it's wild how one simple decision completely restores structure to the experience. Suddenly everyone has a role again. Instead of 15 random soldiers all tossing the revives and rocket launchers, there's order in the chaos. Critics noticed it immediately. On Open Critics, Battlefield 6 stand tall with an average of 84, and nearly 90% of reviewers recommended it. Outlets like PC Games and called it the smoothest and most entertaining Battlefield in years. Others went further, naming it the long-awaited sequel fans thought they'd never get. Even the sites that criticized its short or cliché single-player campaign agreed the multiplayer is one of the strongest in the franchise history. That's the crucial point. Battlefield 6 wins by knowing where not to fight. The campaign is fine, not fantastic, and that's okay because the heart of Battlefield was never single-player storytelling. It was build stories together. What DICE nailed was the feeling of cohesion again. You can sense the feedback loop between the studio and players finally working. Map feedback, movement, tweaks, weapon balance, it all feels built from community input, not against it. Veteran fans compared it openly to Battlefield 3 and 4. The sound design, once unmatched, feels restored to full intensity, with explosions thundering through headsets and jets ripping through the mix like they should. Destructibility is back in full force. Buildings crumble dynamically instead of through scripted events. You're not witnessing spectacle anymore, you're causing it. Visually, everything's sharper, not because of the graphics, but because of design. The UI is readable again, guns handle with control instead of recoil chaos, and every map feels deliberately constructed for vehicle and infantry cooperation rather than the vast emptiness. The difference hits you fast. 2042's stadium-like lifelessness is replaced by Battlefield 6's dense, layered combat spaces. Streets, forests, rooftops, and choke points that demand team play. You can see it in the forums too. The old subreddits, once drowning in anger, are suddenly unironically proud again. If you've been waiting for a Battlefield that actually feels like Battlefield again, maybe click like or drop a comment with your best comeback moment. It really helps this channel. Posts of perfect squad takedowns, tank flanks, and mid-air revives flood the feed that were once filled with memes about bugs and broken promises. Players are quoting reviewers not in outrage but in agreement. Finally, they listen. That's the spirit across every corner of the community. Now sure, Battlefield 6 isn't flawless. The campaign isn't rewriting the book. Some maps could still be larger, and the 4-man squad limit drew debate. But the energy has shifted. Criticism isn't coming from betrayal, it's coming from care. Players want more because they love what's already here. In some ways, Battlefield 6 feels like a time machine, not in nostalgia alone, but in accountability. DICE brought back everything 2042 tried to erase: structure, destruction, identity, and player trust. And what's really wild is that this shift is making noise beyond the franchise. For the first time in years, people are pointing at a Battlefield launch and saying, maybe big studios can change after all. That's a bigger story than one good game, and the story's just getting started. What happened with Battlefield 6 isn't just a comeback. It's proof that humility can be a design philosophy. DICE didn't chase another technological arms race. They stripped things down, listened, and rebuilt from the ground out instead of shouting from the top down. That mindset echoes way beyond one game. It's the same kind of shifts we've seen when massive franchises admit they flew too close to the sun. When they stop pretending innovation means turning every franchise into service model and start seeing value in focusing again. This turnaround feels like a cultural reset button. Fans are responding because respect came before revenue this time. After 2042, nobody wanted a sequel promising miracles. They wanted honesty, a developer saying, "Yep, we heard you." The success of Battlefield 6 showed that acknowledgement doesn't weaken a studio's image, it strengthens it. That success might have finally cracked the code of modern AAA development. Stop chasing trends, start chasing memory. And if other publishers are paying attention, especially those losing players to fatigue and disbelief, Ubisoft, they might realize that trust is the most valuable currency left in gaming. Battlefield 6 didn't have to reinvent shooter physics or add revolutionary systems, it just had to remember what loyalty feels like. That's a quieter kind of success, but maybe the most important one this industry has seen in years. Battlefield 6 didn't just fix a franchise, it reminded the entire industry who games are made for. Fans didn't return because of nostalgia, they returned because they finally felt heard. For years, studios treated players like focus groups instead of collaborators, and 2042 became the symbol of that disconnect. But now, with Battlefield 6 standing tall on fan-driven momentum, the conversation had changed. Trust is trending again. Maybe this is the start of major studio realizing that the loudest feedback isn't noise, it's a map. A map back to loyalty, to dialogue, and to making games that feels alive again. If this comeback gave you even a spark of hope for what AAA gaming could become, drop a comment. Do you think this shift sticks? Or will publisher forget once the next big trend hits? If you caught that difference the second that trailer dropped, you already know. Click subscribe, let's keep gaming alive, and don't forget, enjoy your games.